3, 2, 1. What's going on, everybody? You're watching Ash on Comics. My name is Ash, and it's another live stream. Man, it's episode 93. Can you believe that? I'm trying to turn down my iPad here. It doesn't work. Oh, I've got a professional setup you wouldn't believe. I hope everyone's having a good night. I'm having an okay night. Busy holiday. I hope you guys got a lot of good grub on Thanksgiving. I haven't got to talk to you guys since Thanksgiving. I couldn't do it. I ended up not being able to do a stream Tuesday. I ended up staying up streaming on Jimmy's stream that I got invited to, and he had a pretty good stream going. So I just wasn't feeling it, and just the way the holidays were. And I didn't want to have to divide attention with his stream and stuff. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to put up a notice. Hopefully everyone got it that was here saying, return Sunday, because I had already said I'm not going to do a stream on Thanksgiving. And then Jimmy ended his stream. Way to go, Jimmy. I don't even know if he's here, but I like to make fun of him because that's what people do when you like each other. You razz each other and bust each other's balls. And God knows Jimmy needs his balls busted from time to time. Make a man out of him yet. Me and Breen, right, Breen? I'm going to make a man out of him. Oh, man. RDV says, comments keep getting deleted by YouTube. Yeah, it happens. I don't know. When I put the stream up, a week ahead of time, for whatever reason, they don't keep, the data doesn't stay. So the whole first thing, when I put it up an hour ahead of time, stuff doesn't get lost. But if you typed up something a couple days ago and it's not there anymore, sorry, I don't have anything to do with YouTube. I just use their service. So we're gonna say, I don't know who was first. RDV's the first on my screen, so he didn't claim first. So I'm assuming some people were before that. But Melissa comes in and says she's first. That she guesses. This is a guess. Who knows? Happy. How was everyone's Black Friday? This Thanksgiving is not just Thanksgiving anymore. It's Thanksgiving and Black Friday. In fact, I think Black Friday is almost oversold the Thanksgiving. Sadly enough, that's what most people look forward to. It's just, Black Friday, Black Friday. I start hearing about all the big sales that are supposed to occur weeks ahead of time. Man, I started seeing Black Friday stuff at the beginning of November this year. Now I think part of that was because of the COVID, and I think a lot of stores weren't sure if they were going to be able to do their traditional Black Friday stuff. Bear with me as I'm moving shit around, making all sorts of noise. Nothing but professionalism. I didn't get anything on Black Friday. Kind of bummed about that. I mean, just because I like deals. I was hoping to get some sort of deal about something. But hopefully, if anyone of you guys got some killer deal or something, share it. I'd like to hear that. I like to see people get a good score on something. Hopefully, you guys had a good Thanksgiving. Hopefully, you had a really nice meal with your family or loved ones or both. Hopefully, both. Hopefully, your family are your loved ones. But, sometimes family is what you make of it. It's not necessarily what's in your blood. So if you've got good friends, Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday of the year, precisely because it's the most earnest, I think, holiday. I feel like it's the holiday that's not wrapped up in a bunch of BS, except for Black Friday. But Black Friday is kind of separate from it. It's not, so it's the holiday is purely come, let's get together, let's have a nice big meal and share each other's company. And hopefully remember, have something to be thankful for. And we live in a world where sometimes that can be very difficult, I think. It's and I see so much, man, being on social media is a two-edged sword for sure. I see so many people sadly taking pride in their comments. They make these comments like how they're not going to see their family and good riddance, because their family sucks and, like screw them, or, my parents voted for Trump, so F them. I'm not going to Thanksgiving. And like, but not just making that statement, but basically wearing it as a badge of honor. And I'm like, really? You don't know how good you've got. Like, there are people who don't have families. There are people that don't have anyone. And you got to have it really good, I think. Like, you have to have a really good family, in my opinion, to take them so for granted. If you can just write them off like that, you really must feel very comfortable and very well taken care of and have a really strong support network. You must really have a family that enables that sort of behavior, in my opinion, which is a super blessing that I think these people don't even understand what they have, and they spit on it. And God forbid, I don't ever wish them, the abject loneliness that people who don't have anyone, that it makes me upset, if you can hear maybe in the tone of my voice. And Thanksgiving, I think, is a good time to remember that. And it's a good time to reach out to friends, people maybe they don't have any real family. They're sitting, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? Oh, I'm just kind of doing my own thing, hanging out at home or whatever. Like, invite those people. No, come over, have a feast with us. That's why it's my favorite holiday. I think it gives us the opportunity to focus on some things that matter. There's lots of reasons to celebrate holidays. You can start off with the new year. Hey, it's a new year. We made it through another one, right? I think a lot of people are going to celebrate 2020's over. Woo! Like, careful what you wish for, of course. But, people like to turn over a new leaf and make their resolutions and celebrate and, kiss someone at midnight and all those fun things. If you're young, maybe you're getting blasted out of your mind. Enjoy that while it lasts. Because when you're my age, it's like, whoo, I took a sip of whiskey. Good night. It's so enjoy. Like, you get to what other things you got? Valentine's Day, which I know it's going to sound kind of sexist, right? But Valentine's Day has always, to me, been woman's holiday. It's Woman's Day. Like, seriously, men get the shaft on Valentine's. It's just, men, you better not forget this holiday, for number one. And number two, you better do something worthwhile. It either better be really creative and thoughtful, or maybe expensive. Oftentimes expensive can make up for creative and thoughtful. But, women, not all women, before I get my head chewed off, careful, ease down. Not all women, but many women just take it for granted. They just expect to get, and they might buy their man a tie, or I don't know what they do. Here's a card, sweetie. Like, oh, okay. It's the shaft. Anyways, that's just a man's opinion, one jaded man's opinion. But that's Valentine's Day, and I guess celebrating relationships can be good. And you got Easter. Easter is a really big holiday. If you're a Christian, if you believe that Jesus died for your sin, like, Easter's super important religious holiday. And if you're not a believer, then Easter has been turned into hey, the kids get to hunt for eggs and da 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 da, so we get to paint stuff up and whatever. It's really, really trite. Like, trite, is that the word? So we have Easter. Then what else we have after that? Oh, 4th of July. 4th of July is a good, important holiday, right? It's celebrate the birth of our nation, this great country, perhaps the greatest country that's ever existed in the history of the world. A great country that's founded by founding fathers who weren't perfect people, But when you get right down and think about it, they were a bunch of rich people who acted pretty damn selflessly for rich people's sake. Like, I can't imagine the rich aristocracy of today behaving like the founding fathers did. People like George Washington, Madison, Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin, these guys. No. Like, they risked it all. They didn't just set up a country that would benefit them and make them rich and stuff like that. They set up a country. First of all, they put their neck on the line because they were essentially homegrown terrorists, right? They were the original domestic terrorists for America. Obviously, there's societies before America, but they were America's original home, domestic terrorists. They put their everything. They risked it all to stand up against the crown, to say, look, we're not going to fucking stand this shit, And so it's important to remember what they did, what it meant. We turn 4th of July into this little, hey, it's time to get together and put some hot dogs on the grill, watch some fireworks, and we tend to trivialize everything these days. But man, when you really study, there's some really profound, fascinating historical moments in America's Revolution. I urge you one day, if you ever have the inkling to research, look up for documentaries about the origins of the Star-Spangled Banner. I know most of us kind of, Francis Scott Key was captured on a ship and blah, 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 and he wrote the song. Yeah, that's the simple, like, kindergarten explanation of it. But the fort, which I forget the name of, that was being bombed, and he was held prisoner in a ship, like, just off the coast as they were bombarding this fort, and what the people in the fort went through to keep that flag standing, it's really emotional. And it's really relative, I think, or relevant is the right word, for this stream, being comics. I mean, you're like, oh, Ash, why are you giving us a history lesson? For like, because it's one of the most heroic, like, moments in American history, what these guys went through. Like, laying their lives down just to hold this flag up. And you might be like, well, what's a big deal, like, just holding a flag up? It's whatever. It's because that flag being up meant so much to the rest of the country. It kept everyone else who wasn't willing to do what these guys were doing. It gave them hope. It gave them a feeling like they could still win this thing. Because a lot of what war is about is intimidation. It's a lot about making your opponent give up, right? Feeling like, oh, we have a force you cannot beat. Give in, surrender. And that's what the English wanted to do. They wanted to bring down the full weight of their vast armada that was just unparalleled in the day and beat down these colonies. And the people that stood up, man, the Revolutionary War is not as boring and dull as you may have been led to believe by public education. And particularly that song. I watched it. I wish I knew the name to recommend to you, but there's I watched a fascinating documentary where it went line by line about the song and what was going on that night at the fort, and then what was on the ship, and how Francis Scott Key, I think is his name. I could be mixing up words, but anyways, 4th of July is an important holiday, but ultimately it's still just about a nation. What other good holiday? Halloween. It's an occult holiday. it's an occult holiday. It's celebrating evil shit that we've turned into candy for the kids. Wee! It's fun when you're a kid, dress up, get candy. But it's all right. I mean, as an adult, I don't give two shits about Halloween. Thanksgiving comes up next, where we'd pass that, and then Christmas. And Christmas for a lot of people is the big one, and especially if you're religious, you're a Christian, just like celebrating the birth of Christ. That's a big deal, I suppose. I think the death of Christ is a bigger deal than the birth. As a religious, as Christian, you may differ, but again, it's one of those holidays that's been really trivialized to the idea of just like, yay, I get stuff, yay. which is what Black Friday is really all about. Black Friday is really the first day of Christmas. Buy yourself something. And Christmas is a great one. Christmas can be a time also. It can be very much like Thanksgiving, where it's a time for family to get together. And if I'm oversimplifying your particular Christmas experience, I don't mean to. I can only go through my experience and what I observe. But my point is more to the fact that Thanksgiving isn't wrapped up in anything else, right? There is no gift giving. There is no gift receiving per se. There's no big, decorate the house, put on the lights and all this extra stuff. It's literally just a simple, we're cooking all day. We're having our family and loved ones over. Come over. You mean something to me. Spend time with us. And let's have that bonding experience. And it really makes me sad when I get to see on social media people, screw my family. I was like, you're gonna sell your family out because they voted differently than you? Your priorities are effed up. Anyways, sorry to go on. That was a long diatribe. I know some people get on with it, Ash. I'm here for the comics. But that's my thoughts. And that's why I do this, is to get my thoughts, talk to you guys. You guys have been great friends, I guess. friends in the chat. Friendly eyes. Viewer friends. I don't know what to call you. But I do. I think about it, and especially you guys that have been really loyal, and watched episode after episode. I mean, Jimmy's been following me, a couple years now, Jimmy? Eric Breen as well. So I've gotten to really know some good people. Speaking of which, I should usually do my thing where I just kind of go down the chat and see people who are in here. So RDV, good to see you first. Melissa Harris, Maranya, welcome. So good to see you. Dragon Majesty, Jimmy, Comics Quirks is here also. Eric Breen. Who else do I see? Tahilam, one of our good friends down south in the land down under. He's been another person who's been following me for a really long time. Computer Robots is here. He doesn't partake in Thanksgiving because he is a computer robot. He is plotting the demise of all humanity. He will one day be our overlords, but right now we still treat him as a friend. Good to see you, Computer Robots. Who else is here? Skip and Tosh, my man. Yeah. My indie pal who joins me on a collaborative thing that we both do together, hosted on my channel. But it's because Skip is a Twitch guy. I got the YouTube, and we do this indie show it's currently called the Unnamed Indie Comic Show because we can't think of a good name, and no one's really given us a good name either. So hint, hint, if you guys can be more creative than us, please throw something our way. But we've had 3 episodes now, including the pilot. And it's been really great fun. I've really enjoyed getting to know Skip more and talking comics with him. Hopefully you've gotten to watch those shows and enjoyed them as well. And if you have, and you have any feedback, throw them my way, or Skip's way. I will not have my feelings hurt. If you have any constructive things that aren't working for you, by all means, I would rather you say, hey, Ash, this thing that you do on the show is really boring. I'd rather you tell me that and have a little bit of a, that doesn't feel good to say, doesn't feel good to hear. I'd rather go through that than just continue to bore you. You end up going, really. It's as long as you're doing it because you want the show to be better, there's really no reason for me to be insulted. I think Skip, I can't speak for him, but I think Skip feels the same way. LK is also in the house, and I think that's everyone so far. Let's see. Let me go through the chats and see what you guys are talking about. RDB says he's pouring another shot of Mucinex and firing up an episode of Kolchak. I think I'd rather get COVID. Yikes. Let's see. RDV, if you have it, Make up a mug of chicken broth with a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin and turmeric, along with cayenne pepper, red pepper flakes, chili powder, and paprika. Oh, what's going on here? Does Breen have something? Or RDV have? Oh, he's got the coof. Is that the miracle cure for the coof? Is that approved by Dr. Fauci, Maranya? We can't have... I might get my stream canceled if we start pushing, fake cures for the coof. I think I said Melissa's name, but now my addled brain doesn't remember. So Melissa, also welcome. Your name, for some I can't remember if I actually said. So I want to make sure I get everyone who I see in here. Let's see. Where am I? Let's see. RDV says, I don't have it, plus a lot of normal stuff tastes like crap. Taste buds are shot. That's a sign of the COVID, actually. Who was I seeing? There was someone that's like on a famous... I think it was one of the guys on Steven Crowder's show, Louder with Crowder. One of the guys there had COVID and got over it. I think it was someone, I can't remember. And they were talking about like they still can't taste anything. Like their taste buds went away. Everything tastes like nothing. Even after they like recuperated. Now it's supposed to come back still like after a couple weeks, so I'm assuming, but yikes, that's a weird thing. Let's see. Ronnie says, that's the formula I use if I can't get hot and sour soup. Good to see you too, Tehillim. Yeah, hot and sour soup is something I crave when I'm sick. That and like chicken noodle. Although I usually get chicken rice when I'm sick because rice is easier on the stomach. RDV says, sour stuff would make me puke. Well, hot and sour soup's really not sour. It's not like sour. What are those sour kids candies? It's not like a lemon. I don't even actually know why they call hot and sour soup sour. It's really just a spicy soup. That's what they should call it. RDV says, Miracle Whip usually tastes amazing, but it tastes horrible. I'm sticking to my liquid diet. Oh, so it sounds like whatever RDV has is correcting his taste buds. Oh, so he's actually tasting what Miracle Whip should taste like. Ronnie says, nasal congestion will affect your taste buds because smell is an important and often overlooked component of tasting things. That is true. Usually just dulls your taste, though. It doesn't really make things taste different. Let's see. Tehillim says, has Ash forgotten the date and day on his end? That's possible. I forget a lot of things. Oh, you guys are complaining about me being late. So I got a couple of dogs. I don't know if I mentioned this on a previous stream. I have a couple of dogs that I'm house sitting. And so I got my dog, who's an old lady. She's about to be 11. And then I got these two pups who are like 4 months old. And so they're really energetic and hyper. And right before the stream started, they decided to be like, woohoo, burst of energy, just bouncing off the walls. And I was like, ugh. So I apologize. I was a little bit late because of that. They're currently conked out. I'm looking around. Yeah, they're currently conked out. So it should be good for that. Let's see. It says, don't forget Jimmy's new contract as well. What's that all about? Wait, you should see Ash on Comics, Eric Breen, RDV, and Maranya Valcone. It's new contracts for the stream. I don't know what Computer Robots is talking about. Ronnie's like, what kind of pay? I don't know. Eric's like, we get paid for this? I was like, I'm not getting paid. Who's getting paid? Let's see. Just go down here. Ronnie says, my new office chair with coasters. Yes, Skip. I can even do 4-top style spins with it. Nice. Skip says, I hope sounds like a quality chair. Hope it's got a solid warranty. Let's see. One thing Ash is not allowed to think about on the stream is farts, and no thinking about farting is allowed, Ash. Well, one of the dogs I'm sitting farts, so I might not be able to help it, actually. Dragon Ball Talks here. He says, I'm late, but I showed up. Am I fired or not? And you can't get fired. You're not an employee. Jimmy says, hey, Ash, I read 300. It is my favorite thing that he, meaning Frank Miller, has written by far. Okay. We all have to have our favorites. It's good. I love 300. It's no Born Again or Year One or Dark Knight Returns. It might be on par with Ronin. Ronin's really good. 300 is really good. I do love it. It's one of Miller's more simplistic stories. So I think maybe that's why it's not quite as high on the list for me, because it's very straightforward. It's very basic storytelling, extremely well done, but it's still very simplistic. Compared to things like Ronin, Dark Knight Returns, even Born Again, there's just so much complexity in the narrative. So I could see. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you can enjoy some Frank Miller. You're not a total. I mean, maybe this is your gateway drug, right? Now that you finally like something by Frank Miller, it'll allow you to understand his writing style and maybe not be so put off. Because I think sometimes that happens when you read a certain style of writing that you're not used to. You go, oh, this is weird. This is not how I normally like to see my things. But if you break through that and then you find something that you can like, then all of a sudden you get used to that and you go, oh, okay, now it's not off-putting to me. Now I go back and read those other things that were previous off-putting, and I like them better. If you like 300, I would recommend Sin City. Sin City and 300 were written the closest in the era for Frank Miller's. So the writing style is probably the most similar. Sin City is obviously a crime noir type thing. It was Frank Miller's take on, those old Sam Spade type stories. I love Sin City. Black Friday, I got a proper tea kettle from Target. My husband bought it for $8. Nice. It's good to have a good tea kettle. Let's see. LK says, I'd be bummed if I missed Ash experiencing Nextmen. Oh, I've experienced Nextmen. I own the Nextmen. I'm going to let you guys experience some Nextmen tonight. Computer robots. He ripped it a new asshole as always. What? What are you talking about? I wonder what LK got for me for Black Friday. Let's see. LK says, well, I can send you a cheese grater or a Xenoscope comic book. What would a computer robot need with a cheese grater? Marani says, I need a new cheese grater and a really good mandolin for slicing foods. No, what you really need is a good chef's knife. A really good chef's knife. That it just wonders in the kitchen. If you're just using a shitty old knife versus like a really nice chef knife and a good cutting board, you need a good cutting board. And you're going to want a nice sharpener to keep, because you got to keep those blades razor sharp. California is a dictatorship like Cuba and other communist Marxist dictatorships, says Melissa. And there we go. Dragon says, I'm ready for a comic. Oh, you're about to get one as soon as I try to catch up in the chat. Old faction box graders are the best, okay? I busted knuckles on them back in the day grading Parmesan. Yeah, the box graders are that's kind of the best. Unless you're going to get like one of those crank style ones. But those are really good if you're grading up small amounts of cheese. But if you got like a big block, I used to have this. Well, not me. I guess my mom had one when I was growing up. This like, I forget who made it. Like, it was not Hamilton. One of these big appliance makers. And it was a big, heavy metal machine, and it was a grinder, like grater. And I remember we would like buy like blocks of cheese. It was a big block. It's like cheddar cheese or whatever. And you open up the top and just shove it in and turn the thing on. It had like a motor. You just like push it down, and this cheese would spit out the side. It could grind meat and other things. We only ever used it for cheese, but man, we could grind up shit tons of shredded cheese. And which is handy because back when I was growing up in the 80s, they didn't sell big giant bags of shredded cheese like they do today. You can go to the grocery store and you can buy like 5-pound bags of shredded cheese because no one wants to grade their cheese anymore. It used to be you had to grade it all yourself. And you had to do it uphill both ways. Let's see. Let's see. What are you guys talking about? The Vidalia is pretty good. The chopper has been solid. Slicer portion got provided. What? Sometimes I can't follow your guys' conversations as I'm like scrolling down. I'm trying to like skip ahead, like to catch up. Can't read every chat out loud. And then I like skip ahead too far and I end up reading. So I have to go back. Eric Breen says Ash is done showing off his book learning again. I'm done showing off my book learning? What? I don't understand where that comment comes from. Let's see. Where did it? Oh, I lost. I went scrolled down again. Man. Oh, there we go. I just had to find Eric Breen. He only posts once in a while, so if I find his comment, then I know where I'm at. Let's see. Melissa says she loves Halloween and Easter and St. Patrick's Day. I forgot to include St. Patrick's Day. Most people, that's just a get drunk. It's a drink beer day. Christmas, growing up for me, was more religious with Advent candles and so on, says Marnia. Midnight Mass and Santa did not come until I woke up in the morning. Oh, you didn't have a thing where like you went to midnight mass and while you were gone, Santa came? You're like, oh, we're home. Santa was here while we were gone. Which I always find kind of weird. Mixing Santa with religion. I don't know if I'm not big on that. Let's see. Skip says he's a big boy. You won't hurt his feelings. Dragon says Ash skips Marvel and DC. Name for indie comic show. Oh, that's kind of sort of clever. Doesn't really. It's funny, but it's more like inside baseball clever than it is a good title for the show. Melissa says lost to my channels speaking out against SJW communist Marxist. You cannot speak out against the communist Marxists. They control everything. Keep scrolling, keep going. Melissa says, this is Sparta. Telam says, remember people, Ash won't read or back Super Sons. Perfect for a back issue read. What? What do you mean? Ash won't read or back Super Sons? What? I don't know where that comment's coming from, Telam. I own all the Super Sons. Why wouldn't weird. I was actually thinking about doing Super Sons because when I got into comics and when I discovered Super Sons, it was kind of already at an end. I joined Super Sons when it was on issue 13 and the last issue was 16. So I went back, I bought the first 2 trades. So I because I wasn't going to get all the back issues. I got the first 2 trades. But then I fell in love with it so much, I went and filled the whole collection. I went on eBay. So I have all the Super Sons physically too. So I actually double dipped on Super Sons. Let's see. LK says, but do you have Next Men 14 and 21 Ash on comics? Well, I should. So someone took it out of my collection because I bought Next Men when it came out. I bought them on the spinner. They weren't on spinner racks. They were on store shelves. But yeah. Breen says, because you are so far behind in the comments, by the time you get to them, you've forgotten the context. Well, I didn't forget the context. I just didn't know the context. I'm kind of clueless, Eric. That's why I need you to help me, but you don't want to. You just want to sit and make fun of me instead. Anyways, Delim says things sometimes it just comes out of nowhere. Don't worry, Ash. That's his. He's an Australian ninja. That's why. Jimmy says I have Next Men 14 and 21. Of course you do. Of course you do. But do you have the rest of the Next Men? Man, sorry. I'm drinking bourbon, and that one was a little bit, held it too long in the mouth. Yeah, I'm just got a lowball glass with some bourbon. This is Maker's Mark, which is my go-to daily. Well, I say daily driver, but I don't drink it daily. But it's my non-splurge type. And I just polished it off. I don't have any more. It was the last of the bottle. But that's what I'm drinking tonight. I hope you guys are having a nice beverage. It does not have to be alcoholic by any means. But if you're okay having a sip of something a little fermented or distilled, then, that can kind of help you go to sleep. Helps you enjoy my crappy reading. I've also got a Pepsi on ice. So I got two things. Hope you guys got something. Always got to have something to enjoy the reads. I'm going to get on to the comics. Let me switch the thingamabobber over. As always, I like to check out Comixology. I don't know, it's not everyone's thing. Oh yeah, speaking of Comixology and digital comics, some people are against digital comics, and I kind of understand why. Because reading a digital comic isn't always a pleasurable experience. And I say that if you have a really good device to read a comic on, it really changes things. And every so often, Amazon practically gives away their tablets. Now, the Fire tablets aren't the best tablet you're ever going to buy or anything like that. But for bang for your buck, I don't think you can get a better tablet. And Amazon's not paying me shit. This is just me as a comic fan trying to give you guys some information that maybe works for you or doesn't. And now is one of those times where you can get a 10.1 inch, which if you're going to get a tablet, don't go for one of those little mini 7-inch micro tablets. Like you just got a phone if you're going to do that. And you say, well, Ash, I don't need a tablet. I got a phone. I get it, but hear me out. Because I have a phone and I have a tablet, and I'll tell you what, my iPad is one of my favorite things I own. Because it's just a media consumption device. That's all that it is. Don't think of a tablet as like portable computer or things like that. You have a computer, most likely. That's fine. Check your email. Do whatever you do on your computer. Do that. You have your phone. You use that for the things you currently use your phone for. That's fine too. But if you're like me, you read comics. And you probably also watch TV, movies, YouTube videos. Well, you're watching a YouTube video right now. I decided I wanted a portable media consumption device. And the reason I got an iPad is just because at the time, iPad had the best screen, like visibility. I didn't care about doing any computer stuff on it. I just wanted to read comics on it. I wanted to read books on it. I wanted to watch TV, YouTube videos, maybe play some mobile games, just media consumption. And so the screen was the big deal. And also, Apple does have a pretty good app store you can buy. But anyways, I'm not trying to sell you an Apple thing. That's expensive. iPads are more expensive, especially if you want a large size one. A 10.1 inch is going to give you a display that's pretty close to the size of a comic book. This might be, half an inch smaller in each side than a comic book, but you hold this up vertically, it's like the single page of a comic book. And that's the important thing. One of the biggest deals about reading digital comics is, number one, sitting at your desk looking at a computer screen that's a horizontal screen. It's not designed to look at a vertical image. So you kind of sitting there and maybe squinting, trying to look at the pages, and it's just not comfortable. Maybe you want to sit in bed and read, the books, or, take it with you. And in that case, you got your phone, but it's like, oh, geez, your phone is so small. I'm telling you, man, I barely read physical comics anymore because of this. And having this, a display, which again, like I use it for more than just comic books, but having the display means, digital means I don't have to worry about my comics being damaged. I still buy the physical. I love collecting comics, but I can read in the dark. I can read with dirty fingers. I can read in bed and not have to worry about like falling asleep and then like waking up and I just like rolled over my expensive comic, maybe if it has any collector's value. I can take it with me, and I've got hundreds and hundreds of books. One of the things I do is I have my Google Drive. I upload digital comics into the Google Drive, and as long as I get an internet connection, I use a comic reading app, and it just pulls from there. I don't even have to store the comics on my machine. And then Comixology is a similar type of way. And it really makes Comixology so much better. And I get the Comixology Unlimited. It's $5.99 a month. You get tons of comics you can read. Anyways, $79 for the 10-inch. It's normally $150. This is the ad-supported one. If you want the one that's not ad-supported, it's like $94, I think. Still, either way, it's under $100. This is what I would. If my iPad broke today, I'd be buying one of these tomorrow for under $100, because my iPad's too expensive to replace. God forbid. So I just wanted to show you guys that, make you aware. Maybe you don't want it for yourself, but a comic lover that's in your like a good Christmas present. Just be aware that exists. You take that as well. Comixology sales. Let's see. Look at all these graphic novels. Black Friday sales. You get that entire Green Lantern Corps from our boy Robert Venditti. What else is in here? A bunch of Harley Quinn. Next. Nope and out. I'm sure there's a bunch of good stuff. There's a lot of pages in here. I don't like Harley Quinn. Let's see. Kodansha. Best of Archie. Dark Horse. Got a sale. More Dark Horse sale. More Dark Horse sale. DC Black Friday. Oh, okay, here's the first half, A through G. Image Black Friday sale. Skip and I read this pulp book. We did it on our pilot show of the Unnamed Indie Comic Show. This is the best book I've read all year. This pulp is magnificent. It is, mwah. It's a work of art. And you can buy it new. I think it's like $14.99 is MSRP. It's a hardcover graphic novel. I just bought it on Comixology. $6.29. It's on sale right now. Skip and I did a show. If you missed the show, get the book, read it, and then watch our show and see what we thought about it. And then come join us for future shows where we talk about books like that are currently coming out, and you can be part of the water cooler conversation. Marvel's world-shattering event sale. World-shattering. World-shattering. Let's see. Absolute Carnage. You can get the whole Absolute Carnage series, the core series, for less than the price of the first issue. $3.39. I should have just waited instead of spending. What did I spend? The first issue was $8. I think I spent over $30 on this 6-issue run when all was said and done. And I really wish I'd just spent $3.39 I really do. It was fine. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't earth shattering like this sale is going to try to tell you. It's worth the $3.39. It was fun. Ryan Stegman's art's great, especially if you are reading Venom. It really should have just been in the Venom comic. It continues the story. Absolutely worth $3.39. Probably not worth the $30+ I spent. I might get this Doom War for $3.39. Add to my Doom collection. Planet Hulk. That was something. Oh, yeah. So Marvel sales, one of the good things about Marvel sales, because their books suck typically, is a lot of their discounts. Look at this. Secret War for $2.54. You get Siege for $2. So their stuff, man, they sell cheap. DC knows their stuff's more valuable, so they're not quite as cheap. But look, you can get War of the Realms, the entire War of the Realms for $3.39. Stupid. Did you miss War of the Realms? No, you didn't. You didn't miss anything. But if you think you did, you can spend $3.39 on your new Amazon tablet, and you can read it for yourself and be like, thank you, Ash. For the price of this Amazon tablet, including War of the Realms, I spent less than it would have cost me to buy War of the Realms in the comic book store. Holy shit, Urusei Yatsura. This was the anime that was out when I was a kid. Back when we had to like trade bootlegs on VHS and go to like special clubs. I was a member of a special anime club called SCAN, the Southern California Anime Network. We met on the campus of SDSU once a month. And Urusei Yatsura was one of the big... You couldn't really get manga back then. So manga wasn't a thing because it just wasn't distributed out here because no one cared. So it's interesting that you can get these old, these have been translated, and it's probably because, is it Viz? Yeah, Viz. Yeah, this is your Daddy Ash's anime. And that's it. Oh, no, tighten more. There's still more. All right, that's it. That's it. I like to check out the sales to see what's out there. Let's see. Eric says drinking is bad for you. Well, it's bad for you if you abuse it. So is drinking water. You can die from drinking too much water. Man. Tehillim says Ash don't have Adventures of the Super Sons. Excuse because he said did you and Bendis or Challenge of Super Sons coming out this month? Yes. Set preset. What? Tehillim? I'm not even understanding you. I do have Adventures of the Super Sons. I have all 12 issues. And I'm actually really annoyed because I bought, at the time, I was buying all the B covers from DC. I like the art covers. So Adventures of Super Sons, I bought the B cover. It's really cool art. It's, full color, like full page, without the trade dress. And then they only did it for that issue. And Super Sons didn't have B covers for the rest. So and it annoys the crap out of me to not have consistency. I want my whole series to be all B covers or all A covers. I want them to match. A little obsessive compulsiveness of me. And so I'm fucking Didio. Let's see. Jimmy's like, what the fuck does that even mean, Tehillim? I don't know. I think maybe Tehillim's drinking something down under. Jimmy says, drinking is great for you. You know what they say? A case a day keeps the doctor away. Yeah, that's because it keeps the doctor away, but not the coroner. Beware, fire tablets are slow, especially if you install the Android APIs in order to use the Play Store. But if you want at least a 10-inch tablet to read comics on. Yes, and I want to disclose that I'm not trying to sell Fire tablets as the most powerful tablet in all of existence. Like, I'm trying to sell you an experience that's not going to damage your pocketbook. Dude, I've had comic book store bills that are as expensive as this tablet. And then I hated the comics. But the point is, if you're like me and you just want a media consumption device, if you want something that's going to play Netflix, YouTube, let you read comics, books, listen to Audible, just anything that's just media, right? You're not going to be out there doing Word documents and you don't care about, you just want to consume media. These will be fine, 100% fine. And you'll find yourself like me. I use my tablet all over the place. I go in the kitchen, I'm cooking dinner, I got my tablet. I mean, some of you have been on Englandine stream. Like, I come in on his stream and I'm like cooking dinner, my tablet's on the counter, and I'm like trying to type on the screen, like, because it's great. I take it all over the house, and I love it. It's almost too good. Let's see. Sean Gordon Murphy continues to destroy the Joker by giving him an origin and removing everything that makes him a mysterious, unsympathetic, psychopathic serial killer and mobster and terrorist supervillain. Melissa. Sean Gordon Murphy is not destroying anything. The White Knight universe is a different universe. It's not the DC universe. It's a reimagining. Just enjoy the story as a different imagining of how Joker maybe could have been. It's not the canon. It's not even trying to be canon. It's absolutely 100% upfront saying this is different. This is the Murphyverse. It can't ruin anything because it has nothing to do with anything. It's like reading Superman Red Son where he's a communist. It's not the real Superman story. It's a what if. What if Superman's thing had crashed in Russia instead of Kansas and he grew up under the Russians? What if? Sean Gordon Murphy's is what if. What if Batman and the whole world of Gotham and everything developed under different circumstances? That's how you got to take it. I mean, do whatever you want. It's your life, but it saddens me that you have such animosity towards a book that's really, really good because this roadblock gets in your way, and I don't think it needs to get in your way. Let's see. Eric says, I used to drink a case a day, and now look how that turned out. Okay, bad example. Breen, you have forgotten more comic book knowledge than most of us will ever know. I know a lot, but you and Englentine are my human Wikipedias when it comes to comics. No joke. Yes, Breen used to be my backup. Imagine how much Breen knew before he destroyed his brain on liquor. The world will never know. Anyways, I don't want to talk about sad subjects. I'm here. I'm glad that Breen is here because Breen is a John Byrne fan like myself. I didn't used to be a John Byrne fan, but as I got older and I talked to wiser people similar to Breen, but not Breen himself because I didn't know him back then, they educated me. Like Jimmy gets educated these days. And I grew to love John Byrne. This was a little bit later in his career. John Byrne, I think, made most of his notoriety comes from, I believe, Eric will correct me if I'm wrong, the 70s and the 80s. So this was sort of the tail end of his popularity. Now, of course, John's still alive and well today. But I don't think he's ever done anything super noteworthy since the 90s. Or even really the 80s. I think the X-Men might have been one of the last hurrahs. This was a book, for those of you that don't know, when Image was coming out and all the artists, everyone making their big, blah. And it was kind of opening the doors of opportunity. And Dark Horse kind of jumped on this and they created this, I think it's called Legend, Dark Horse Legend. And they invited... I don't know how they invited. They ended up working. Frank Miller, John Byrne, and Mike Mignola were the three originals. And it was a creator-owned imprint, which back in the day, that was a big deal. Like, we're going to print your books, but you own entirely, just like Image. And so Frank Miller got to do whatever the hell he wanted. He did Sin City. John Byrne got to do whatever the hell he wanted. So he did his X-Men ripoff. And Mike Mignola got to do whatever the hell he wanted. So he decided to give us Satan. Because he's a evil bastard, I guess. I don't know. I'm just talking out of my ass right now. So I read X-Men because I like John Byrne's X-Men. So I was like, you want to give me more X-Men? Sign me up. This is my stuff. It's not exactly X-Men, but there's some similarities. Eric says, if you knew me back then, Ash, you just didn't know it yet. Oh, nice. Marani says, I liked Byrne with the real Man of Steel miniseries and the She-Hulk and the Fantastic Four. Amen to that. And with that, let's get into some Next Men. For those of you who did not experience this, buckle up. Hopefully, I have not read this in over 20 years, so it may not read as well as I remember. We're going to find out. Here we go. A journey of 1,000 miles must begin with a single step. Lao Tzu. Hang on! Breakout. That was the easy part. It can only get worse from here. But are you all right? You're losing so much blood. Yeah, I tend to do that when I'm shot. Now, do as I... Shit. Jump for it. Everybody make it? Yes, where? No. Where's Bethany? Bethany! Like my special effects, sound effects. They're A+ premium. That's it. I've had enough. Jack, what are you? Keep back, Jazz, baby. I'm going to show these guys I can play their little game as well as... Ark! Jack! Keep down. What in hell was he trying to do? He must have been trying to make a weapon like theirs. Why didn't it work? Make a weapon? What the hell are you? Oh my God! Look! Beth! Nathan? What? Oh! She's okay. The explosion, the gunfire, nothing hurts her. Nathan, help me. I'm so frightened. Not without good reason. You may be indestructible for all I know, but don't push your luck. You, kid, from the way you were zipping around after we made our escape, it seems like you're pretty fast. Nobody faster. Then you get to go for help. See that road over there? About 20 miles along it is a town. Do you think you can run that far? You mean you want me to run away? I won't do it. Daddy, you have to. We have to do whatever the lady tells us. She's the only one who's doing anything to help us. Get going, kiddo. And keep your head down. It's just a fly speck of a town. But there's a police station. A way to contact Washington. Now go. And God speed. Lady? Oh, Nathan, I think she's fading. No, she seems solid, but... Nathan, what's happening? What's gone wrong with the world? Not half an hour ago, we were in the greenery. Everything was the way it's always been. Then Jack vanished, and suddenly we were in that horrible mental room. Horrible metal room. Easy, Jazz. You know there were always unanswered questions. In fact, just before we all met in the clearing to see how much Jack had reached... All right, you two. Just hold it right there. Central, this is Perimeter 1. We have the area secured. But, Central, are you sure these are terrorists? Except for the black woman, they're just a bunch of kids. Don't let their apparent youth deceive you, Captain. Kill them. Now. No! Bremer. Don't stretch what little is left of your luck. You've used up more than your share just getting to this point. I still can't believe I didn't see it right away. See what? Don't be coy. The sudden interest from J Street, the arrival of the Tony Murchison a day early. After all your whining about how much you wanted a chance to save this last batch, I must have been blind not to realize you'd tipped off Control and his people. Yes, all right, Hilltop, I admit it. Why not? After all the years, after all the hundreds of failures, how could you imagine I would really stand by and let you flush all my work down the toilet? All your work. And in the end, that's what it really comes down to, isn't it, Bremer? Despite all your pseudo-humanitarian moanings, it's not the lives of those 5 young people that concern you. It's the time and effort you put into the project. The fact that your work will go unrecognized. If you say so, Senator. Although, frankly, it seems to me you're in no position to be passing any sort of moral judgment on me or anyone else. No. I wonder who you think has the greater right, Bremer. I conceived this whole project. Convinced one president to allocate the necessary funding. Shepherded through 7 administrations after that. Kept even the most prying eyes directed away from what we're doing here. Until now. Until... Central, we have a problem. What? What's happening out there? Civilian vehicle approaching. And it has police markings. Well, gentlemen, I wonder if you'd care to tell me what's going on here. Nothing to concern you, Sheriff. This is a military matter. Afraid not, soldier. In case it slipped your attention, you and your men are about 100 yards outside of your perimeter of your little holiday camp. And that puts you inside my jurisdiction. So, let's have an answer to my question, shall we? Looks like that's game, set, and match, Senator. Now that outside authorities have become involved, there's no way in hell you can keep the lid from blowing off of this whole business. Project Nextman is about to become a cause Not just yet, Dr. Bremer. Nasty. Senator Hilltop? Did I hear? Oh, jeez. Boom. Boom. What in the hell? Boom. Just everyone's getting wasted. Secure the perimeter. Find a corpsman. Then I'll be wounded. What about prisoners, Captain? 3 men to stand guard until... Wrong again, Captain. Now, see here, Sheriff. I've had about enough of your stupid no game. I got a tip-off there was some strictly non-kosher going on here, Captain. From what I've seen so far, I'd say that was a valid tip, wouldn't you? Hey, Wyatt. This one's still alive. Jack! Get away from him! Ugh. Holy shit. Captain, how did she... That jump. Jack, baby, can you hear me? Jack? Jazz, what happened? I tried to make a weapon like theirs. It didn't work, Jack. We can't do that here. But we can still reach. But are you okay? When you fell down? Not sure. I hurt. But I don't think I'm fading. That does it. Tommy, call in for medical assistance. Get an ambulance out here. Sheriff. Save it, Captain. I don't know what in hell's going on out here, but I mean to find out. And frankly, I think you're gonna be too busy with your own problems to stop me. You may be right there, Sheriff, okay? I'll allow you to take these people into custody, but remember this. They're responsible for an attack on a United States government installation. If they get away from you, any of them, the Department of the Army is going to come down on you so hard, you'll be wearing your shoelaces for a necktie. Well, doesn't look too good for the woman. She's lost an awful lot of blood, more than anyone has a right to, and still be alive, in fact. And the big guy? Well, him I just don't believe. He's got 2 high-caliber slugs in his chest. What are they doing there? I don't know. They should have gone right through him and take most of his lungs with them. Can you get them out? No, not with the instruments we have in the truck. That's the other thing. It's like his pecs, his chest muscles have grabbed the slugs. All right, this is too much for me. Get them both back down. Get them both back to town. We'll see what Doc Bonner can make of all this. Tommy, you said over there? All ready, Wyatt. Gonna be a bit bumpy ride back to Climax. But I can tell you right now, it's gonna seem smooth as buttermilk compared to the ride the 3 of you are gonna get when the questions start. It won't do you any good to ask questions. We don't know anything. Wrong answer, kid. But okay. You've got until we get to jail to change your minds. I'd think real hard about just doing just that if I were you. Nathan, what are we going to do? That dark woman was the only one who seemed she knew what was going on. And I'm not so sure about her, Jazz. What do you mean, Nathan? She was trying to help us. Was she, Beth? I'm beginning to wonder. Sure, she helped us break out of that lab that we all woke up in. And sure, she seemed willing to risk her life to get us this far. But she sent Danny to get help, to contact someone or something called Washington, without telling any of us what Washington might be or how Danny was supposed to make contact. And something else. This man, this sheriff, says he's taking us into the closest town, but we're going in the opposite direction from the way the woman pointed Danny. And it all leaves us no closer to knowing what's going on, what's really happening to us. But there's one thing I've decided on for certain. We can't afford to trust anyone, not a living soul outside the 5 of us. I know. We should be there by now. I'm running as fast as I can. We must have gone as far as she said the town would be. And don't say we passed it. I'm sure we'd know a town if we saw one. But I've got to stop. My feet hurt. My legs hurt. Oh, what's the matter with me? I've run further than this in the greenery, and it never hurt my feet at all. But my feet feel like they're on fire. And my legs, it's like these trouser things keep getting tighter and tighter. can't make a blade or anything to cut them away. A sharp rock? Yes. Maybe I could find... Hey, look. What's that? It can't be something alive? Hey, young fella. Are you okay? What the heck are you doing out here in the middle of nowhere in that Halloween suit? What? Well, never you mind that. From the look of those blisters, you've been walking a long time. You have some kind of accident? Are your folks nearabouts? Folks? Hey, you do speak English, don't you? I speak the same language you're speaking. Who are you? Name's... Oh, well, how do you say this name? Any ideas? Name's... is it Dukuman? Duckaman? Why this is really bad. I hate when people always use phonetic names or put a glossary. I'm going to call him Duckaman. That sound good? You guys correct me if I'm wrong. Name's Duckaman. Willis Duckaman. And you are? Danny Duckaman, Willis Duckaman. Can you help me, my friends? I need to get to town. I have to contact Washington. Washington? Now, why in the heck would a little fella like you need to do such a big thing? Who's in Washington that you need to talk to? In Washington? Is Washington a place then? You don't know? But you have to get in touch with somebody there. Junior, I've come across awful queer things in the desert in my time, but you take the biscuit. Come on. It surely don't seem like you're going to get much further on them feet. Another few steps and them blisters will burst, and then you'll be like not bleed to death before you get to climax. My old truck ain't much, but it'll get you where you need to get... Man, I'm having trouble reading today. My old truck ain't much, but it'll get you where you need to be to get help. What's climax, Duckaman Willis Duckaman? Make that just Willis, okay? And climax is a little fly speck town in the 40 miles that way. That? But she pointed for me to come this way. She? Who? Your mama? I don't know that word. She's the lady who was helping us escape. Escape, huh? Well, you just sit back and keep the weight off those feet, Nanny. It'll take about a half an hour to get to climax. Then you and me will find out what the heck's going on around here. And that's the end of issue 1. And of course, Amazon's crashing on me. Dun, dun, dun. I gotta get a different browser than this Avast browser, which I thought was gonna be just like Chrome. Okay, bear with me 1 second. I apologize. Okay, let's go to the chat while this is all happening. Where was I? Jimmy says Doom's word is law. Eric, okay, Eric talked about his drinking. Eric says, oh no, I went up too high. Jimmy says, Marania send Ash to the corner. Why would I go to the corner? FYI, Ash, Hellboy killed Satan. Whatever. So now he's the new Satan. Yippity-ki-yay. I just like getting on here. Just Just pushing your buttons, dude. Let's see. By the way, that sounds really stupid that some spawn of the devil killed the devil. But what do I know? Naked Sue Storm. Byrne couldn't do that in Marvel. Melissa's, good grief, she's naked. Oh, my stars and garters. Bremer reminds me of Gierich, but more sympathetic. Ronnie says, eat gads. Lead her head on Bremer. Ronnie says, wow, blew the brains out of the outfit. Jimmy says, damn, this is starting off rad. I'm going to have to check this out. Yeah, well, you're going to get to check it out. Got several more issues I'll be going through reading, so you'll get to know if this is worth your while or not. Dragon Majesty says, don't you usually get to see the inside of the building views for explosions? The inside? Oh, you don't usually get to see the inside building views for the explosions. That's correct. Yeah, you would just see the building explode. I just really liked how that scene went off and the doctor's like, oh, what's going on? And boom, it blows up. You're like, geez. And then like the other people come in like, oh my God, what happened? And it's like, boom, they blew up. And then like the other people, like it just kept getting like bigger and bigger until eventually it was like at the site where the people were. And it's like, oh my God. And boom, that blows up. Just like, that was a cool thing, I think, that Byrne did, where he just kept like, oh, you think it's over? It just keeps going. Let's see. Ronnie says, the Indian-looking guy reminds me of Wyatt Wingfoot. Calls the other guy Wyatt. Let's see. Melissa says, the Bible Satan can only be killed by Jesus. I believe the Bible Satan can't be killed. At least the Bible talks that he won't be killed. So, not going to get in a biblical discussion here. Eric says, still here. So, Eric, was Next Men all you remembered it to be? Having a little sip of whiskey. Ooh, yeah. That'll clear the sinuses. That's what you need, RDV. You need a little bit of bourbon to sip on. That'll help you out. Not too much, though. You don't want to have too much alcohol. Weakens your immune system. But, just a couple ounces to sip on. Let's see. Jimmy says, God can only kill Satan, yet won't because he is all good. Well, I know Satan is an eternal creation. I don't get it. I want to get in the biblical discussion. Suffice it to say, the Bible talks about that Satan's doomed to be cast into the abyss, which most of us call hell. The abyss of burning fire and, was it burning sulfur and brimstone is, I think, how it's described. And those who do not repent and come to God and decide to take the side of Satan will be cast out with him. And that's where the concept of hell comes from. Eric says, I read along with you. I never read it before. Say, what? What? You've never read Next Men? Mr. John Byrne Acolyte? Eric Breen? Never read Next Men. Mr. had a room full of comics. Never read Next Men. You really are a Marvel DC junkie, Eric. We need to have a show. This is what I need. You got the show with educating Jimmy. We need to do something where it's educating Breen on indie books. Because, wow, I'm shocked. I can't believe it. You're the guy who likes Byrne's neck. I think, if I remember right, you held Byrne's X-Men in higher esteem than Claremont's even. We had a discussion. I could be wrong. I might be misremembering, but I'm just shocked. That's all. I'm in shock. But I'm glad you're getting to enjoy something new. So, and it's a back issue, which is right up your alley. Let's see. Ronnie says the Next Men is looking to be another series that is growing on me. Well, I enjoyed it. It's it's obvious if you were an X-Men reader, especially the John Byrne X-Men before he left, that there's a lot of similarities. I mean, just look at this team here. I mean, the main leader guy, it's like he's Cyclops. He's got his eyes are all, and you got a Colossus figure. It's definitely, I feel like John Byrne had a lot of inspiration. I think he really did love doing X-Men stuff. Just going by the fact that Byrne did his own independent X-Men books outside of Marvel that I think Marvel later on purchased and then printed. Like, really weird. I got to look those up. I think it's called X-Men The Lost Years. So when you read this X-Men, you feel like these were ideas that John had and he didn't get to really explore. So he kind of created his own similar kind of take. A lot of people say that X-Men was the prototype for Harbinger, which would come out in Valiant later on. I don't doubt that Harbinger maybe have ripped off, because Harbinger was kind of like Valiant's version of the X-Men, but the way that they exist is more similar to this X-Men thing. Anyways, that's all boring shit. I just enjoy cool team books like this. And John Byrne's a great artist and a great writer. He's one of the all-time greats, and it's kind of cool to see it. Especially, this is a guy that didn't remember, creator-owned books weren't a thing back then. I mean, they were for like indie guys, but they weren't a thing for like the big wigs, right? You didn't see, like the big guys for the most part doing their own little indie books, because they're just, you made it to the big time. You made it to the big time. So John Byrne was busy like rewriting Superman's origin for DC Comics. Like, he was at the top of the mountain. To do an indie book like this was, But the Image guys kind of broke that valve. That indie creators could make good money kind of doing their own thing and controlling their creations. And this was kind of a product that, obviously, it didn't last very long, at least for Byrne. He ended up going back to mainstream, but we get this taste, and it's kind of fun to see what they would do on their own outside of the big two. Let's see. I have the first issues, but no other ones, says Eric. All right. Eric says, Ash, I was reading indies when you were in short pants. I think you were reading indies when I was just a speck in my father's eye, a twinkle in my father's eye. Is that how that goes? You were reading indies when my father was in short pants, Eric. But you were reading different kind of indies. You weren't reading indies. Anyways, you don't read many indies anyway. You read, I don't know what you read. I don't even know what you read. Dragonman says, Ash and Skip educate the masses. Another title for your show. A little too wordy. We need to think of something like succinct and to the point. It doesn't have to have Ash and Skip in it, by the way. And we're not really, also just FYI, we're not trying to educate anyone. We're just trying to celebrate indie comics. Neither one of us is professing to be some great indie expert. We're just two fans of comics that have a viewpoint. Educating Jimmy is so great that people try to steal our name. Well, that's a great name. Educating Jimmy is, I will say, the show isn't really about educating Jimmy. It's kind of a waste of a name, if you ask me, because you watch the show and it's just Jimmy picking a comic book that they want to read and talk about. I actually wish it was more on the name, but it is a great name. And then it says, and then John burned his bridges. And then John burned his bridges at the big two and went to Dark Horse. Ha! I kill me. Very good. And Jimmy's arguing with me again. So, no, Ash. No. I feel like a dog. No, Ash. Bad. Down. Down. No, Ash. Bad dog. Let's see. Okay, the next comic. I gotta Oh, I don't need to do that right now. The next comic for the evening is Spider-Man. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size. Catches thieves just like flies. Amen. Here comes a Spider-Man. This is the Chip Zdarsky Spider-Man that I have never read. So I'm going to give it a shot. And one of the things that made me want to give it a shot was number one, he's writing the best comic at Marvel right now in Daredevil. Number two, the guest appearances of Spider-Man in said comic are great. I love that. And number three, the art in this book is Adam Kubert. And I was like, what? What? They put the best artist of a Spider-Man book on Spectacular Spider-Man? Spectacular Spider-Man's always been like the redheaded stepchild of the Spider-Man books. And then Adam Kubert, I didn't know he had good art on this. Wow. So I've never read this. So I'm going to get to experience Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man for the first time. Some of you may have read this book before, and if so, you'll get to see my reaction, of course. Because it logged out on one tab, all my tabs are logged out, so I got to re-log in. Oops, there was an error. So fix it, stupid. Oh, for F's sakes. Sorry. This is really frustrating. Back to the book. By the way, the Comixology app, when you're reading on a tablet, way different. It works smooth as butter. It's really nice. It's the web browser version that you guys are seeing me use. That sucks. Sorry about that. I had to blow my nose. Got a little sniffles coming up. I don't feel sick though. Where's the chat? Dragon says, then just go with the Independence Hour. Oh, you're on the right track there, Dragon. It's nice and succinct and to the point. Although we're like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours sometimes. So, Melissa says, Spider-Man sucks after one more day. Melissa, I'm trying to bring joy to your life. Open your mind and allow for the possibility. I know it's not, you're not hopeful and you're very skeptical, and that's fine. Healthy skepticism is fine. But keep that mind open that maybe someone can impress you. Not everything is bad. Believe me, I was anti-Marvel. I didn't buy any Marvel. The only reason I read DC is because I came back to comics. I was like, holy crap, Marvel is a shit show. I'm not buying any of these effing comics. And the only reason I started buying comics is I read Chip Zdarsky's Spider-Man life story. And I'm going to tell you, Spider-Man One More Day probably ruined main continuity Spider-Man. It's done irreparable damage. They could fix it if they wanted to, because you can do anything in comics. But Spider-Man Life Story is one of the best Marvel comics I've ever read, period. Like, going back in any time, it is fantastic. And that is the book that was recommended to me by Chase over at Gateway into Comics. He did a fantastic video on the book. I said, I got to check this book out. And I read that first issue, and I was like, oh, shit, holy shit, this is good. And after I read that 6-issue series, it brought tears in my eyes. It was such a good story. And I was like, well, I'll check out Venom, I think is what I checked out next. I started reading. And then I checked out, it was Sergeant Batts that sent me the digital copies for Daredevil 1, 2, and 3. And he said, here, read these. And I was like, oh, okay. So I read them. And I was like, oh, shit, these are really good. And so now my point is I kept my mind open for possibilities. Does 95% of Marvel suck? Sure. Is there plenty of shit to bitch about? Of course. But it doesn't mean every single thing is terrible. There is still some hidden gems out there. And I believe in giving everything a fair shake. I'm not gonna rain on something just because something else, related to it pissed me off. Hopefully Spider-Man doesn't suck. I have heard from many sources that Chip Zdarsky didn't really start getting good until after his Spider-Man run. That his Spider-Man run was almost kind of like a warm-up. It was kind of like a training session in writing. And then he jumped on, was it Marvel 2-in-1? And people started getting blown away. And which I really want to go back and read those. And then I remember people were so enamored with the Marvel 2-in-1, which was Thing and Human Torch. People were so enamored with it that when they brought back the Fantastic Four, Marvel was like, "Hey, we're bringing back." Everyone was like, "Oh man, Chip Zdarsky they're gonna put him on it, like what he's already got, Thing and Thing and Torch." And then they gave it to Dan Slott, and then they canceled Marvel 2-in-1, which I kind of expected they would do that. I think I would have, if I was Marvel, I would have transitioned it from been Marvel 2-in-1 and make it like a Spider-Man and something else, and just kept it going. But Marvel loves their opportunity to reboot everything, so of course they're not going to do that. But then Chip Zdarsky ended up leaving, and I was like, of course. But I'm more of a Daredevil fan than I am a Fantastic Four fan, so it's kind of a win for me. But I know for Fantastic Four fans, it kind of sucks. Anyways, I'm just babbling. Let's see. Melissa, be happy for once. This is a good Spidey story, says Jimmy. Melissa says, the best Daredevil run will always be Frank Miller's run. I think Frank Miller's run is the best Daredevil run. It's the definitive Daredevil run. It's the one everyone, it's all things are based off of. Everyone's trying to be the next Frank Miller. But I don't ever want to say never. I hope that someone comes along that's a better writer than Frank Miller one day and does something even better. Dragon Man says, or independent show. Okay. All right. I appreciate the seeds of ideas, Dragon Majesty. Ronnie says, classic Daredevil with Gene Colan art is a good run. Let's see. Spider-Man Life Stories is on par with Marvel's, the original, in terms of classic books. I would actually agree with you, Ronnie, and I did not think that was possible. I used to be very much known for talking shit about Marvel Comics in the new millennium. And one of the things I would always say is look, you go back to the 90s and before, and you can point to classic Marvel things, that are just going to be timeless. So will be in the history books. You'll look back and be like, this is an all-time great comic. It's just going to be a perennial, right? Infinity Gauntlet, Marvels. You have Frank Miller's Daredevil, Walt Simonson's Thor, Chris Claremont's X-Men. You have these things that people talk about in legendary status. And I go, in the last 20 years of Marvel, what it's been out that's even halfway on that level? Nothing. There's nothing in 20 years that I would even put in the same category as Marvel's. Marvel's not capable of doing that, in my opinion. And then they did this Life Story, and I was like, whoa, shit. I was like, no one's going to talk about anything that's made in these past 20 years. And 20 years from now, no one's going to be looking back and be like, oh, yeah, you remember One More Day? People talk about it because how shitty it was. But you know what I'm saying? But this is a book that I think people will talk about. Not this book, but One More Day. No, sorry, not One More Day. Now, see what you guys did. Help me out this Life Story. Jimmy says, everything sucks. Read back issues. Remember when Jimmy was a Marvel fanboy and liked every Marvel book? Oh man, we've turned him. We've seduced him to the darkness, Eric. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Ronnie says, it took a few issues in Spidey for Zdarsky to get his footing on the character. He course corrected with criticisms. Really? Okay, that's optimistic. Let's see. Dragon says the first 6 issues of Zdarsky's 2-in-1 was awesome. The final 6 issues weren't near as good. Oh, that's a letdown. I heard that the art really took a dive, but I didn't ever hear that the writing did. And I think maybe I would question, did you dislike it or you feel it wasn't as good because the art dragged it down? I know for a fact that's a similar thing that happened in Daredevil when Chichetto took, a couple leaves of absence off the book and they would put a guest artist on Daredevil. People would be like, it's not as good anymore. And I'm like, well, it's the same writing. It's just the art is way inferior. Because they didn't even put like, an artist who was like 80%. They would like, if you take Chichetto as like 100%, they'd put on a guy who's like 40%. You're like, what the hell are you doing? Can we get Riley Rossmo to be on the art, please? Eric says the first 4 spectacular Spider-Man Zdarsky's did were America bad. Really? This is the first 6. Oh man, here we go. Eric, thank you for that great send-in. So this is a national treasure. Here we go. Oh, I'm excited. Oh, that's Amazon tablet. All right, guys, buckle up. Eric says you're going for a ride. Of course, America never had art this good. And when I say never, I mean never, ever, ever in any iteration. Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, Into the Twilight. Chip Zdarsky writer, Adam Kubert, and Michael Walsh, number 6. So this is the trade paperback. It's available on Comixology Unlimited right now, which is why I'm reading it. And here we go. The East Village, New York City. This is nice. I know. We never just hang out anymore. So what's been keeping Peter Parker so busy? Well, let me tell you. Last week I fought a new version of Hammerhead, but his tongue that's shaped like a hammer, so he kept trying to hit me with his tongue, which was crazy grow. Oh, please, no Spider-Man stories. Spider-Man? That's what I said. No, you said Spider-Man. There clearly wasn't a hyphen included. That pronunciation was a classic Mary Jane Watson burn. You and that hyphen. It's trademarked, or at least it was by the company that registered it and made millions without me. I'm not bitter. What's new with you? Well, I'm still running Stark Industries, obviously. It's weird. A guy in accounting asked me out the other day, but there's no... Please don't tell me about all the guys you're dating, blah, blah. I'm dating all the guys, blah, blah. Peter, that's not what I was... Look, I get it. Tony Stark is gone. Someone there needed to fill his womanizing role. I guess, though, it's manizing? Why are your jokes so bad? I have to make bad jokes. If people heard me making good jokes, they'd suspect I'm actually the famous, funny Spider-Man. I need to protect my loved ones and you. You should focus on protecting your clothes, Tiger. Oh, man. Shouldn't your spider sense warn you about stuff like that? It's more of an intermediate physical danger thing. I mean, I didn't warn you not to date you. Wow, you're on fire today. Kaboom! Vulture. And that explosion can't be good. I gotta pause here for a second. This is written like everything that's wrong in modern comics. This is what I hate about Bendis. This like slippity slappity, what's the name of that stupid comedy? Big Bang Theory style writing. just like self-impressed. Not really it's kind of self-impressed. And it's why Spider-Man is such a beta male here. So he's doing the whole, we dated once, but we're still friends, and you get to know that I'm Spider-Man and like have my deepest, darkest secret. And you get to tell me about other guys that you're dating, and I just sit here and take it like a total fucking chun. Even though I'm Spider-Man and I act like a fucking dipshit. And then, of course, you, who your biggest claim to fame was you were a supermodel, are now running Stark Industries because what? Power of Woman? What the fuck? Sorry. And then, but biggest thing here is you're sitting at a public dining in New York, which if you've been to New York, these little bistros or whatever, look, it's like literally on the street, on the sidewalk where hundreds of people are walking by you, and you're having a conversation about how you're Spider-Man. And then you look at the Vulture, and there's a guy right next to you. No, come on. Sorry for the interruption. Continuing on. Sorry, I need to, chase a senior citizen. You got the bill, yeah? Stark Knight? Stark Knight. Oh, God. With a K. Stark Knight. Sure. Hate ditching MJ like that. Ribbing aside, she's one of my best friends, and it feels impossible to find the time to catch up these days. Rip open. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, wait, that's the wrong character. It's true what they say. Time flies. That is a really cool 2-page spread, though. I mean, just if I'm going to sit here and look at Adam Kubert's art, I'd be like, that sure does look pretty cool. And yet the same crop of bad guys keep popping up. Why can't the Vulture pack it in already? I wonder if I just let him get away with the money he just stole, maybe that'll be enough for him to finally retire? Nah. Whoa, I can't believe it. The Vulture, my favorite popular culture website. I love your TV recaps. I'm far too busy returning stolen money, to be honest. Hardworking banks to watch the shows. But you make me feel like I'm there on the couch with you. Oh, wait, you're actually an ancient man who's for some reason really decided to lean into the fact that you... That's a cool looking Vulture too, by the way. And you look like a horrific Vulture. Huh, that's new. Okay, now, does he try to get away? Or does he stupidly think this is when I finally take out the spectacular Spider-Man dummy? You webbed freak. Why won't you let me be? What? Are you crazy? I just bought a 1971 copy of Joke and Guffaws because there was an entire section devoted to you. Here, I memorized some choice of zingers for you. You're so old. Zip, zip. That Galactus spared Earth because he cherished his schoolyard friendship with you. I mean, you're so old that your first job was a carrier pigeon. Huh. Reinforced suit and helmet, eh? Makes sense. You impertinent bug. My Falcon suit is more powerful than ever. Whoa. Falcon suit? Are you trying to rebrand? The name was free. Thwip. Man, ribs are going to feel like they're going to snap. He is stronger now, too. Oof. Rebranding's such a youthful idea, which is weird because you're so old. You wanted to burn Scarlet Witch at the stake. It's crazy that you're so old. When you remember when Logan was happy. What are you? Oh, you don't know Logan? He's very old. That's a joke. Wah, wah, wah. What? You imbecile. I can't see. You'll kill us both. Oof. What does it matter to you? You're so close to death already. Just gotta hold on. Time this right. Man, you're so old, you should have called yourself Sandman. 'Cause every nap you take could be a dirt nap. One-up, good. Huh. Old dog learned a new trick. Surprised? An upgrade to help me rule the skies. Lightweight, nano-woven metal that responds to my mental commands. Good. Excellent. You need to keep your mind sharp. Controlling metal wings or completing half a Sudoku is important at your age. This is ageism. You wouldn't insult Black Cat like this. Well, no. Tss. Faster, too. Vulture's not much of a fighter, though. If I can get in close. All right, time out. Honestly, I don't mind the Spider-Man quips when he's being Spider-Man. And some of these things that are like is written have been kind of funny. But then there's other ones like this that just fall super flat. Why is Vulture getting all outraged that this is ageism? It just sounds dumb. And then also you just had Vulture rake Spider-Man, who's really kind of untouchable. He's one of his powers is danger sense and super agility. It makes him super hard to hit. And Vulture just hits him, and then you have a line of narration saying that Vulture's not much of a fighter. It seems like he's pretty good. His old man just hit you. All right, time in. Oof. Man, Adam Kubert can draw. Because she doesn't refer to Captain America as Captain New World, so... Oh, get it? That's why she's not old. Ugh, you hack buffoon. I'll show. What? Spidey sense going off. Does Vulture have back? Splork. What? You guys are ridiculous. A couple of old guys in skin-tight clothes fighting each other on the roof? That's insane. Wait a sec. I'm not old. Who are... Name's Trapster. The new Trapster. Wait, like Trapster? Without an E? Like a cool Trapster? Or... See, old. You've been running around in this tight since you were a kid. I bet that mask is to hide your wrinkles. My money. Don't give yourself a heart attack, Patrick Stewart. I'm just going to take some of it. Want to leave you guys with something to fight over, yeah? I'm young. I have a joy de ask anyone. My pace wears off in an hour or so. Bye, Grandpa. Bye, Dad. I'm young and hip. Ask me any question about Chance the Rapper. So young, so full of life. She reminds me of you when we first met. Elsewhere. So what does it mean? What are you supposed to do with this? I don't know. I mean, do you go to the top? What if they're in on it? Do you destroy the info? What if they catch you and you go to prison? Do you... I don't know. I don't know. But I'll definitely need some help. But from whom? I've got an idea. But he's not going to like it. And so ends the first issue. First chapter, I guess, of Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man. Oh, wow. That was something. Wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you say? Where did I leave off? Where? Scrolling up. Okay. Eric says, then he flipped a switch, and the fifth one and everyone after was great. Oh, interesting. Well, we're going to get to see that. I'm glad you brought that up, Eric, because now we can kind of watch for it happening. This trade paperback that I'm reading through is the first 6 issues, I believe, of Spectacular Spider-Man. So I look forward to seeing that switch. This issue was not America level awesomeness. But it was cringy. It had some cringe, and mostly just very amateur writing stuff. But the art, man, really helped sell it. Adam Kubert. This is some of the best Adam Kubert I've seen in a long time, maybe ever. I've always been more of an Andy Kubert guy, but I don't know. He might be overtaking him. It's amazing to me that they gave Chip, who was really not really a name at all at this point in time. In fact, he's really still not a name. They gave him Adam Kubert, but I guess it's the Spider-Man title. So, and it's a new, that's what it's number 1. So I enjoyed some of it. Some of the banter as Spider-Man was what I miss about like the Michelini era, which is where I got into Spider-Man. And I love the whole, like, just sort of like roasting his opponents while he was fighting them and just talking trash. And it really works. And I think it really works in like today's era, especially because it's something that's even more pronounced. I mean, you can go just watch YouTube videos. In fact, there's a YouTube video that I started rewatching again that I used to watch years ago. And his whole channel is based on, he just roasts people online. He gets online and he plays, mostly he plays Call of Duty, and he just talks trash. But he doesn't talk trash in like a shitty, like mean way. He's really like funny and just friendly, but he just pokes fun. And mostly like you watch these other people get really upset, and they just go like full tilt sort of thing. And he never raises his voice. He never like says mean insults. He just kind of points out little things and pushes buttons and basically lets them kind of roast themselves. And then he'll just start pointing out the things that they said. It's stupid. And it's hilarious. And I could just turn these things on, and when I'm working or whatever at home, and I just listen to them, and it's just funny. And it reminds me that culture that's out there, this roasting culture. I could imagine a teen or a young 20s-ish, Jimmy's age kind of guy out there fighting these old fart villains and just talking trash to them as he's fighting them. I think that's one of the great things about Spider-Man. I love that it's sort of a coping mechanism for, like, if I remember correctly, it's kind of like he's nervous when he's fighting, so it like helps him keep his thing. But I just don't like the Peter Parker version of that. Peter always was kind of a stuffy kid. Remember, Peter Parker's the guy that let Uncle Ben die. I mean, he didn't let Uncle Ben die, but he let the crook get away. He's like, not my problem. Peter Parker was kind of a dick, and it wasn't until that life-changing moment that he obviously realized, like, and he became a nice guy. He generally was a nice guy. He just had a dickish demeanor. But he was never that quippy guy, like 24/7. Spider-Man was almost like a different personality. And I thought this issue felt really like Chip Zdarsky was trying way too hard. He's like, I got a Spider-Man book. I need to make every freaking panel just witty and jokey and like, no, ease back, Ruddy, ease back. And unfortunately, the Mary Jane thing, that's not his fault, right? That's a Marvel mandate. I can't hold him to all the shit that's going on with Mary Jane. And so I'm not going to fault. It's okay. I like seeing this. I like seeing Chip at his beginnings because I know where he's at now. And it just makes it all the more impressive to be like, wow, you've come a long way in your craft over a short period of time, roughly. Let's see. Ronnie says, the hell? Fourth wall breaking much? Melissa says, Peter's derp face. It totally was a derp face. Melissa says, after one more day, Peter became a man child. Totally. That's almost infuriating to me to see how they write Peter as a man child. I hate that. One of the things that's going on with me, I watch TV shows with my buddy and his kids when they're over. He has them, and so we go through various shows. I got him hooked on My Hero Academia. Fantastic. It's a great show. I absolutely recommend My Hero Academia to everyone who likes comics, even Eric Breen. If you like comics and you like superheroes, you need to go watch My Hero Academia from the beginning. I do not steer you wrong. It is fantastic. It is, Melissa, if you haven't watched this, you should watch this with your son. I think he would dig it. If you like real heroes, superheroes, it's the classic DC style heroes, aspirational heroes. It's actually a mixture of heroes, actually, because it actually kind of covers the whole gamut. But the main character, who's the focal point of the show, is one of the aspirational heroes. He's like a Superman-esque type character. He just wants to help people. That's all he has. That's all he cares about, just saving people and helping them and making sure that they don't feel scared. And he's got the power, and he just wants to do good with it. That's all he wants to do. And it's a really just well-written show, got great cast of characters, and they all have different agendas and different things that they're doing. Anyways, if you like superheroes, it's a Japanese take on it, so there's a little bit of cultural differences. If you're not used to manga or anime, might throw you off with some of the cultural things, but I think you get through it. It's appropriate for all ages. I got him also onto another show called, what was the name of that show? Fairy Tale. That was a good one. That was a little bit younger, slightly a couple years younger audience than My Hero Academia is targeted for, but roughly similar. But it's got good stuff. Anyways, I got into this good stuff, and then we got into Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I had never seen before, but I'd been hearing about for like a decade. I mean, that show's been around forever, and it's like, oh, I've been wanting to watch this, and it's on Netflix or whatever. It's like, great, let's sit down and watch through Avatar. Like, that'll be great because we have to watch something that, because they're preteen kids, they're not old kids, So, we watched through Avatar, and it's a good show for kids. I recommend it. If anyone who's got young kids, it's got really good life lessons. It talks about, it has good morals to the story. You know what I'm saying? But it's done in a simplistic way that kids, it'll make sense to kids. And it's not the greatest show I've ever watched, but it's good. It's solid, especially for kids. And then we're watching Korra, the Legend of Korra, which is the sequel to Avatar: The Last Airbender. And holy shit balls, do I hate this show. Oh my God, it's terrible. Like, it's everything going on like in comics. It's so progressive bullshit. It's I feel like the main character Korra, who's the new Avatar, if you know about the stories or whatever, Aang is the Avatar from the first series. This show takes place like 80 years after the first series, and now we have a new Avatar. Her name's Korra, and she is the shit. She can just do everything, of course. And it reminds me a lot of Captain Marvel, the way she's written. She's very manly. She's very, everything is a fight. She addresses everything with fists. She doesn't feel feminine in any way, shape, or form. There was an episode we watched tonight where she's talking to an old lady, and old lady's like looking at her. She's like, you're really muscular for a woman. And she's like, thanks. And I was like, wow, they're so self-unaware. Like, that, like, I've noticed that, like, because I'm like, you're kind of butch, but the people writing it, their worldview is, they weren't writing it the way that I'm seeing it. Every character in the show, every single one, is so either just absolute annoying buffoon, or they're just an insufferable super prodigy. I'm awesome. And when I say insufferable super prodigy, I'm awesome, I mean, without fail, 100% of the time, it's a woman. Every female character in this show is just the best. Awesome. There's one of the characters is the son of Aang, the last Airbender. And he's got, I think, 3 kids, 2 daughters and a son. His eldest daughter is essentially just an airbending prodigy. She could just do anything. She without even like any sort of training or whatever, can spirit walk and do stuff that the Avatar never could do. It's just everywhere you just turn around. She's fine. She's probably actually would be one of the most likable characters in the entire show. But it's just annoying that it's like, oh, look, you can just do anything without any training. It's just really, really, and the Avatar is so insufferable. And it's just got everything I hate in modern comics. Like, I watch this show, and I'm trying not to like talk shit about it when I'm watching it, because the kids are, watching. The only thing that's really frustrating is like, I don't want the kids to watch this and be influenced by it, because it feels kind of indoctrinating. Because they're enjoying it, like, it's funny, this and that. I'm just like, but they don't have a adult worldview, so maybe they're not seeing the things that I'm seeing, so maybe that's fine. But I bite my tongue on a lot of things because I'm not there to rain on their parade, so to speak. But man, it's been a chore. It's 4 seasons. We're on the 4th season now. I'm like, please let this end so I can go on to something. Sorry, I've gotten the weeds on that, but yeah, this Chip Zdarsky book's not near that bad. So anyways, moral of the story, watch Avatar Last Airbender, and when you go, hey, that's pretty cool, they got a sequel to it, no, avoid it, all cost. Pretend it doesn't exist. Run. Let's see. Oh, RDV came in, and you start talking about Spider-Man, and RDV comes alive. RDV says, Spider-Man died in one more day. Everything else after was garbage. Everything else after RDV, you read a lot of Spider-Man. You read, like, a lot of Spider-Man. Like, amazing. You read Spencer's Spider-Man. I wouldn't say everything is bad, because Spider-Man Life Story was legitimately great. Eric says, wait until he gushes over Riri Williams and asks for her autograph while she's carrying him. Oh, God. Hey, look. Eric says, Chip Zdarsky is painfully unfunny. Yeah, well, especially when he tries really hard. I think when he tries to just be like subtle humor, I think he can have some subtle funny things. I think in Daredevil there's been a few real subtle little things that I was like, okay, let that go. But this just felt like Zdarsky was on overtime. Like, oh, I got to be funny on every single panel. It's like, dude, and you're not. Let's see. New Trapster, garbage. She didn't last past this issue. Sorry, me. Yeah, she seemed like garbage. Let's see. Eric says, not America level of awesome, just America level bad. It's not that bad, Eric. It's bad, but it's not. Come on. It's not that bad. Let's see. Age means jack shit when a person's trying to kill you. I guess this response to Melissa saying he should not bully Vulture. He's an old man. People should respect our elders. Respect our elders? He's a criminal. What do you mean respect our elder? Come on, Melissa. Come on. Melissa, it's a Vulture. He's like robbing banks and shit. You're supposed to respect him? No. Let's see. Vulture is still an old man. He still deserves respect and dignity, even though he's a murderer and a supervillain. What, Melissa? Come on. That's just crazy. Melissa says he does watch My Hero Academia. Talking about her son. Good. I hope he likes it. I think you might like it too. It has none of the problems of like progressivism and peace. It's because it's Japanese, right? So it doesn't have any of that bullshit that's in our country. Like the Japanese, they just write stories. Let's see. Computer Robot says because the way he writes Spider-Man is the way he writes himself into the story. Maybe. Oh, you're talking about Dan Slott. That's what that was. Okay. Spider-Man has always been a man-child. He was finally growing up until they killed off his mare to save Aunt May, who is not even in current comics again. That's why I disagree. I don't think Spider-Man was a man-child. He was literally a child for a while. He was like originally Spider-Man's like 16-year-old kid in high school. I don't think a 16-year-old kid is a man-child. Right? That's like there's a difference between actually being a kid and acting like a kid and being a man who still acts like a child. Let's see. Ronnie disagrees about villains deserving respect. They don't. Wasn't Aunt May dying of cancer in the recent runs of Spidey? I don't know. Cancer was the disease of choice at Marvel, it seems, recent years. Aunt May, Jane Foster. Yeah, speaking of Jane Foster, she's canceled. Didn't you guys hear? The more popular Thor. Everyone likes to rub in my face when I talk about how Jason Aaron ruined Thor. I'm like, what are you talking about, Ash? Jane Foster Thor was more popular. That's only because she was new and different. People have been reading 60 years of Thor. You know, now they got this new character, and so collectors have something to collect, and it's exciting because it's new. And now that she's not called Thor anymore, guess what? She's canceled because no one gives two shits about her because she's stupid. Which is my point all along and why the progressive SJWs in comics constantly hijack these identities because they know no one would give a shit about Riri Williams if she wasn't called Iron Man. No one would give a shit about Jane Foster if she wasn't called Thor. You know, no one would give a shit about X-23 if she wasn't called Wolverine. No one would give a shit about any of these characters. That's why they have to steal the identity to prop them up, which just shows the character's weak. When you got to prop them up artificially, it's because it's a weak character, and you shouldn't be publishing weak characters. RDV says Spencer's is garbage. Wow. I think the Koof is really bringing out the sincerity in RDV. RDV says, yeah, and Tom Taylor's Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man in 2018, and she hasn't been around. I don't know what he's talking about. Melissa says, I will never forgive Tom King for ruining Batman. Batman's not ruined. I mean, he was ruined in those issues, like, but as soon as Tynion took over, it was really cool the way Tynion took over Batman. It was almost like he just ignored what Tom King did, in a way. Like, he didn't try to address what Tom King did and then throw fixes onto it, because when you do that, you're just drawing attention to how bad it was. What he did is he just started writing Batman almost without taking into consideration what Tom King had done. Now, some of the continuity things he has to, like Alfred's dead, he's respected the continuity. But as far as like how like Batman behaved, you know, and he's just this man-child himself, like he just immediately Batman is like all of a sudden he's Batman again. You're like, oh, it's almost like the Tom King version was some Elseworlds nonsense diversion, and it's just down the memory hole. Like, it's really interesting, and I think it was kind of a smart play. Just don't even address it. Just go do your thing, and people have been liking it. Ronnie says, I'm mad that the people talk trash about Eve Ewing's Ironheart because that was a decent book and what we wanted, not her trading on name recognition. It's not what I wanted. I wanted Riri Williams catapulted into the sun. She's a stupid character, should have never been created. And no fault to Eve Ewing, right? She's minding her own business, writing poems. And someday Marvel gave her a call to write a book because she looks like Riri, I guess. I mean, I haven't read the Ironheart books, but I can't really agree with you, Rania, because number one, I believe the book's canceled. No one talks about these books. The only thing that I've seen these books be successful at is not being the shit that Bendis wrote, right? Like, Bendis set this super low bar with his version of Riri Iron Man that everyone hated. So you get Eve Ewing off the streets and it's like, hey, write this book. Okay. She could pretty much write anything and people are like, oh, it's refreshing. It's so much better. And I'm not saying she's writing trash. I'm not going to, but I don't see anyone enthusiastic about these books. All I see is people kind of making excuses for the books and being like, it's not that bad. It's okay. It's like, the character doesn't, you already have an Iron Man. You've got a plethora of Iron Man, as a matter of fact. We don't need another just D-list character. It's because we could fill some sort of racial, gender quotas, which is what Riri does. She's both the female quota and the black quota. She gets 2 in 1. She's stupid. She's a stupid character. Now she has a potential. She could have been a cool character. And I don't know if anyone else listens to our boy Zach, old school Diversity in Comics Matter. That he did a really cool video where he talked about his ideas of how to make Riri a good character, and it was to make her a villain, and like how she ends up like suing, basically using her identity and plays like identity politics and uses it with the politics and stuff to like ends up suing Tony Stark and just getting billions off of him and then using his money to fund her own armor developments and do all this stuff. And she's like a complete sociopath. But in so doing, develops this big long story arc of how she ends up having to like come to terms with how wrong she is and stuff, and then she can then start redeeming herself. And I was like, wow, that would be a cool. I'm not making it sound nearly as good as he does. If you ever guys are curious about that, go look it up on his videos, like Riri. I don't know what to search for. Riri Williams story idea or Riri. I wish I could recommend the right one. You can find it if you guys know how to search for stuff on YouTube. It's really. I was like, damn, Zach, this is. I would buy this. It sounded awesome. It's more complex than I just made it out to sound, but I really liked it. And I think the character could be salvaged that way. But from what I've seen with Eve Ewing, all she did was pick up what was happening with the character and just continued on with it with her ideas and stuff, and just made her a character I could have zero interest in. Let's see. And Ash, just to let you know, as a daily reminder, that Ash loves legacy characters. Oh, I love legacy characters. I love them so much. Let's see. Old age doesn't clear your slate. Otherwise, I'm going to murder a bunch of people when I'm 80. Apparently, it clears Joe Biden's slate. Am I right? Or am I right? Bendis writing Riri. Yes, she was a villain. Eve Ewing helped rehabilitate the character. But the problem was she wasn't a villain. That's the problem, because Bendis's perspective is that what Riri was these modern progressive writers view villainy as the heroes. So Riri Williams was written as a hero, but she was a villain. Zach's story idea takes it and actually makes her an actual villain. So RDV says Joe Biden broke his ankle. Really? What was he doing is he trying to like walk out of the basement and slipped in the stairs? Like, what the hell? Computer Robot says, so has the cases between Trump and Biden been settled, and who's going to be the president in the next 4 years? No, the cases have not been settled. Basically, what I've been following on the whole Trump-Biden thing, it seems one of two things. Number one is that the whole election is in the Republicans' hands right now. If Republicans wanted Trump to be president, they could make it happen because they have the ability in 7 out of the 8 battleground states that are contested right now. 7 out of the 8 ones have Republican legislatures, state legislators. The state legislator of the states have the ability to not certify their election or whatever. I guess they can disqualify it, or I don't know the all exact legal mumbo jumbo of it all, but they could basically say, we're not submitting this. Like, this is, our votes are messed up, you know. So if Biden doesn't get those votes, then there's a contested election, meaning neither candidate gets to the necessary 270, which is needed to win. And if there's neither candidate gets to the 270, then it becomes a decision of the House of Representatives. So the state representatives pick essentially who the president is, and the Republicans control that. So all that needs to happen is the state legislators of those 7 states to say, nope, this voting was a mess. We're throwing this out. There was too much discrepancies and, you know, malfeasance or irregularities or whatever you want to call it. Even if it's not calling it fraud, say this was a mess. It wasn't done properly. We can't, in good conscience, you know, send our votes. Then Biden doesn't get the 270. Trump doesn't get the 270. Then it goes to the state or the federal legislature, which is the House of Representatives. Each state gets 1 representative vote. The Republicans dominate that vote. They select Trump. Trump is now president for the next 4 years. So my thinking is the Republicans are in on it with the Democrats. They're just one party. They're one party split into 2 to make you feel like you have a side and that you're against the other side. And vice versa, the other side makes them feel like they have a side and they're against you. It's divide and conquer. But together, the Republicans and the Democrats represent a corrupt establishment that have been ruling in power for decades. And this is really coming to fruition since George Herbert Walker Bush with the New World Order. For those of you who are old enough to remember when he took office in 1988 after Reagan. And we were just like, New World Order, what the hell is this? And then Clinton carried it on, then Bush Jr., then Obama. And now Biden wants to carry this on too. And they're in league with each other. I look at Romney and McCain, the 2 last Republican candidates. Both worked with Democrats. Romney right now is trying to sabotage Trump. McCain helped Obama. He authored some of the most un-American legislation for Obama. They're all in on it together. They're all crooks. They're all criminals. They're all working for this New World Order. They're the real in it. It's not about Democrats and Republicans. It's about establishment versus anti-establishment. Trump represents anti-establishment. And that's why he's hated so much, because he's not in league with them. He's actually standing against it. So whether you like Trump or you hate Trump, I'm not going to argue with that. You can dislike his politics if you want. But recognize that he's standing in a different. His agenda is America and the people of America. The establishment is the corporations and the power of a nationalistic corporate state, aka fascism. But using a massive media, which is all owned by these corporations, to convince you and I that it's actually their enemies that are the fascists, not them. They're not the fascists, even though they control everything that's said and heard. Not run by the state, but essentially might as well be run by the state. So Trump stands against that. Now, if the Republicans really are on our side, or just on the side of Trump, if they're really like, hey, then they will do this, Trump will win. If not, they're going to leave Trump to hang out to dry. They're going to secretly do backroom deals with the Democrats like they've been doing forever. They'll certify these elections. Biden will get the number of votes. And you and I, the normal, average, everyday person will be like, oh, Biden got the votes. They won't even understand anything that I just talked about. That was even a possibility. They'll just be like, oops. And the Republicans will be like, nothing we could do. Nothing we could do. And that'll be happening. They're going to let Trump hang out to dry because Republicans don't like him either. Because it's establishment versus anti-establishment. Those are the true two parties. You're either on the side of the establishment and the corrupt corporations and the oligarchs and the Wall Street. You're either with that side. Notice all those guys are all together. Or you're on the side of the people. Now, you can believe Trump is with the people or not the people, but he's definitely the enemy of the other side. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And if there's someone who's willing to stand with me against my enemy, I'm going to accept him. That's my thought on the thing. So take a look at what happens over the next preceding month and keep that in mind when you see. If you see some of these Republicans go, and the state legislators goes, nope, we're null and voiding this. Maybe there's some hope. Maybe there are some good Republicans who aren't part of the establishment. State legislators, aren't as big as the federal. So maybe there's some real true Americans still working for it. We'll see. The other thing is the lawsuits. That's a bigger thing. Is possible they could get to the Supreme Court. This is what happened with Bush in 2000. Remember, Al Gore held out for 37 days. He was the president-elect, just like Joe Biden, for 37 days, longer than what's going on here. And then Bush filed all these lawsuits to contest, and he just contested one state. It was just Florida. It wasn't 8 states. He just contested Florida, and he lost court case after court case until it got to the Supreme Court. And then the Supreme Court ruled in his favor, and the election was reversed and went from Gore and went to Bush. So that's a possibility. That's a theory that's going on right now. It's like a lot of these cases are being, put in the different state state court systems. A lot of them being tossed out or being, rejected or whatever. And people are saying, oh yeah, Trump's losing these cases, da 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 da. But there's this theory that it's like that they kind of expected that all along. And they're just building an argument because every time you get thrown out, you can appeal and go to a higher court. So that's how you get to the Supreme Court. You have to lose cases to get to the Supreme Court. So there's a big theory that it's intentional. They're losing on not losing on purpose, but losing on as part of the plan. Like we're expecting we weren't going to win. That's fine. Just expedite us along. It's like if you're ever like really pissed off about something, like say like your internet or something, or your cable, or I don't know, your phone service or whatever, and it's like doesn't work. You call up, you get the run around from a customer service representative. They don't tell you the truth. They have the next time you call up, you're like, you guys screwed around. You like eventually you're like, I just want to speak to a supervisor. Once you realize you need to escalate something up the chain of command, you just don't mess around. You just like, okay, I don't want to speak to you. Go to the next guy and get the next guy. I don't want to speak to your manager. You just keep going up until you get to the top. That seems to be kind of what Trump might be doing. Is he's just basically like, let's just get to the Supreme Court. Let's get them to decide. And he's got 5 judges. So we'll see. I'm really scared that if it goes to the court system, I'm really scared that if the Supreme Court changes it and says, nope, looks like, yeah, there was fraud evidence and stuff, and these votes can't be considered, because there's a lot of good evidence, despite what the media is telling you, despite the media, oh, there's no evidence. No, go look at independent media. There is shit tons, mountains of evidence. So these court cases are crazy. And it looks like there's millions of votes that were flip-flopped from Trump to Biden. Millions of votes. It's so absurd. This Dominion voting machine was like designed in Venezuela, like on purpose to throw elections. Like it's managed the outside of the country. Like the fraud is beyond just like, oh, little votes here. Like, it's like crazy how big this story is actually possibly could be. And I have this fear of like, if it gets overturned and said, no, it has to go to Trump because of the courts and rulings and stuff, that this country is going to explode because the media is not keeping the people informed. The media is not going to tell them, oh, we found fraud and, unfortunately Biden didn't get the votes that we thought he got because of this fraud. So looks like Trump did actually get those votes after all, and he's the legitimate winner. That's not what's going to happen. If the courts overturn it, the media story is going to be Trump stole the election. And see the problem here. See the problem with with corporate controlled media. They're not here to tell you the truth. They're here to indoctrinate you and brainwash you to their agendas and hide the information that is relevant and pertinent to you, to hide anything that counters their arguments. So you never even know that it happened. How many of you knew what I just talked about with the state legislatures, 7 of 8 battleground states, and they can just basically not certify their elections and make it so that Biden doesn't get those votes? I didn't know that until just a week ago. So many people aren't informed, and the mainstream media isn't really telling people about this. And if it does go so happen, they'll just spin it and frame it in a situation of like, oh yeah, well, Trump is pulling strings and he's got a bunch of people that he's in the, and he steals the election. It'll go from, this is the most secure election in U.S. history, which is what the Democrats are telling us right now. They will flip on a dime. This is the most secure election in U.S. history. Mark my words. If they turn it over to Trump, mark my words. I'm just calling it out. They will go from, this is the most secure election in U.S. history, to Trump stole the election. You will be like, what? You just said it was the most secure. That's what's going to happen. And it's just like the whole COVID nonsense, right? It went from when Trump was trying to like ban travel to China and all this stuff, and then the Democrats were like, oh, it says nothing. It's a nothing burger. This is no big deal. And about the mask, and remember Dr. Fauci in March was saying like, no, masks are actually bad. Don't wear masks. Like that actually makes the virus spread more. You can still find these videos. They're still up. He's saying don't wear the masks. And then all of a sudden when it came time to be like, oh, wait, we could lock down and seize power. Oh yeah, no, do wear masks. Oh, we have to they flip on a dime to suit their agenda. So anyways, I'm not going to go any more in the weeds than that. I did answer the question though. So I didn't bring it up myself. Let's see. Melissa said good night. So if I missed you, Melissa, I'm sorry. Let's see. I gotta scroll up. RDB says he's gonna concede like McCain and Hillary. Well, he might be forced to. I don't know what's gonna happen. He's not conceding now. He's still running these court battles, and he's got a lot of stuff. He hasn't conceded yet, right? Bush didn't concede against Gore, so we'll see. Let's see. Stopped giving to the Republican Party because both parties are communist. I don't think the Republicans are communist. I think the Democrats and Republicans are fascist. I started believing that the government was fascist when that was my red pill, George W. Bush. And I started going, wait a second, man. Our government really shares a lot of fascist, things that, make up what a fascist government is. And it was the Bush presidency. So I never actually came to this recognition or this understanding through a Democrat. It was really the Bush. And then when Obama took over, I was like, wait a second. Obama's doing everything that Bush was doing, only at a higher level. He took all of Bush's policies and said, let's crank it up to 11. He didn't change almost anything. It was just keep on going. He lied to everybody, and the news covered for him. It was astonishing. So as I was waking up because of Bush, And the media just, they lambasted Bush left and right, especially in his second term. That's why Obama got elected, right? Because remember, Obama and Biden won on the anti-Bush ticket. Bush was Orange Man bad before Orange Man bad. It was Bush Man bad. That was how they won. Obama didn't have much of a campaign other than, I'm better than Bush. Bush did all these bad things. I'm going to fix them all. And so then he took office and he's like, oh yeah, those Bush politics, and he just did it. But instead of the media, which criticized Bush, all these things doing, all of a sudden we're spinning for Obama. I'm like, wait a second, how come when it was Bush dropping bombs on people overseas, it was like, man, he's a warmonger. Remember the weapons, remember no WMDs, remember that whole thing? That was like, we didn't find weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. This is all a ploy to go to war overseas, blah, blah. And then Obama took office and actually bombed more people than Bush did. And all of a sudden the media was like, nothing to see here. You're like, what the fuck? And that's when it became plainly evident to me how dangerous and how wrong the media is. The media is the number one threat to this country, because I'm convinced if we had a true, legitimate media with integrity that was just designed and intended to inform the people, right? Not try to teach you what to think, just tell you the facts. Here's what's going on. And so people are informed. We can make our own decisions, but they don't want to do that. They don't want us. They want to make the decisions for us. Let's see. Happy holidays, says Melissa to me. Reagan was a true conservative candidate until Trump came along. Here's the thing. Trump's not even a conservative. Trump's not a conservative. I didn't like Trump. I didn't want to vote for Trump. I only voted for Trump. Trump's the only Republican I ever voted for, by the way, for president, that is. Because he's a liberal. But he wasn't Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton is a liberal and a crook and a traitor. And that chick needs to swing, if you know what I mean. That chick's fucking evil. So my thought was, I'd rather just have some doofus, real estate mogul, liberal guy as president. Whatever. The presidents don't actually have that much power. And I figure I'll take a liberal that's just not corrupt, right? And just has bad policies. And that's our Congress is designed. Our whole system of government is designed with checks and balances, not just for abuse of power, but to make changing the law and doing things tough. It's incredibly hard to pass new laws by design. It's supposed to be that way. But so yeah, anyways, the reason I ended up growing to like Trump over the last 4 years, because I just watched the number one enemy of the people, the press, try to keep assassinating him over and over. And I don't mean like literal character assassinate him over and over and over and over. And I was like, wait a second, he's not doing, I watched them lie. Things that not that someone told me was a lie. I witnessed it. Like the whole bleach thing. Like, oh, Trump's telling people to drink bleach for COVID. He never said that. Ever. He did not say it. It just didn't happen. But the media made everyone think that he did because they reported that he did. And I just witnessed these lies. I mean, just straight up, they just make up fiction. And I have this saying that I say all the time, when you have to lie to support your position is wrong. The media are the number one enemy of this country. There's going to always be corrupt politicians and people trying to abuse their power. That's bad, but with a good, honest media, we would catch them and be able to hold them in check. And computer robots is taken off, I guess. Or no, Melissa's saying bye to. Computer robots says, people still hate Bush and his father. You know who doesn't hate Bush? Biden. Biden and Bush are in league together. Did you hear Dick Cheney is going to be in Biden's cabinet? Fucking Dick Cheney of all people. Computer Robot says, okay, Ash, I watched Animaniacs episode 6 and I loved it so far. Yes, they did some commentary on the election, but at least it's not bashing on your favorite president. So the Orange Man, animated Orange Man thing wasn't bashing. I don't know. Animaniacs were never really my thing in the original format. I don't hate them. They just weren't my thing. This new one, some of the stuff I saw, I was like, it just seems like modern bullshit. Okay, guys, now if you excuse me, I'm going to see what Ash has written on Twitter recently. I haven't been on Twitter that much, computer robots. Bush is all chummy with Obama. Yes, he is. Yeah, they're all in it together. They're all in on it together. Look at who's supporting the president, and you will know who is a real conservative. We don't really have conservatives in our government. I mean, Rand Paul is a conservative. His dad, Ron Paul, who I was a big supporter of, that's a real conservative. Trump reminds me of a JFK liberal. Most of you aren't old enough to remember JFK or whatever, but JFK would be like far right by today's standards. Trump is like just left of center, I think. But compared to the far leftists, of course, he seems like a conservative because the spectrum has shifted. It's kind of like RDV lives in Wisconsin, right? In the winter, it gets like below fucking zero. So when I say, oh man, it's like really cold outside, and RDV goes, how cold is it? And I go, 45 degrees. And he's like, dude, that's warm. Like, I wish it was 45 degrees. Like, you see, it's relative. JFK didn't kill himself. That's right. He didn't. Neither did Epstein. And Biden didn't win the election. All right, guys. Sorry to turn it all political at the end. A few of you hung out for me to hear my diatribe. I appreciate you always listening to me. I think keeping it to the end at least didn't interfere with your enjoyment of comics tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed books. Wow, I really went way over tonight. Holy shit, I gotta do better. Thanks for hanging out with me and making this a fun thing. I will try to be more concise on the next one. But hey, I had 2 episodes of time to catch up on. Spider-Man didn't kill his marriage. Very nice. So Tuesday should be the next episode. I hope you guys had a great time on the holidays. Got to visit your family. Leave comments. If you're watching this after the fact and you made it this far, you are my hero. Thank you. I'm always open to date criticism. I know that I'm not the best streamer out there. This is a hobby. This is for me to hang out with you guys. You make it all worth it. And I thank you for being here for me to talk to and entertain me as much as I try to entertain you. I am going to get off now. And don't make any sick jokes about that, Eric Breen, you bastard. And I will see you Tuesday. Later.